What's up, guys? Kevin Thomas, John Epps here. Moving the Chains. This is our 4A and 5A playoff preview. Tonight we've got the big boys coming to you. Appreciate everyone who tuned in on Monday night for our 1, 2, and 3A preview. Had a lot of great response on that and comments and whatnot. And love to get you guys doing the same thing tonight for this one. It's a lot easier when you guys are in here commenting with us and telling us about it. So if you're here and you're watching, certainly let us know what you think about these games. We haven't seen all these teams. We've seen a lot of them. So anybody that you've seen that we haven't, we'd love to get your input on it. But, any of you guys here watching tonight, we really appreciate it. We're on Facebook, Moving the Chains SC. If you're on Twitter, you just watched our video. Thank you for coming over to check us out on here. We're on Twitter at Movin' Chains, Instagram Movin' Chains as well, also on YouTube. And our podcast, audio-only version, is on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Wherever you find your podcast, we're there as well. So if you missed it live, you can always catch it later on there. But if you're on here right now, like, comment, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Let's get this thing going tonight and get some big viewers. But John, let's start out. I said start out in 4A, another great division. We talked all year in the last few weeks, especially how we're going to see some really good games right out of the week with only being 8 teams in each upper state and lower state bracket there. We're going to see some great football in 4A, especially this week.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty split from a talent perspective.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about some of the lower classes earlier this week where the upper state was lopsided. Upper state is where all the talent was. Lower state looked a little bit weaker. This one, I think we're pretty even. If nothing else, maybe the lower state's a little bit stronger in 4A.
Yeah, so let's run through the upper state 4A bracket as you guys follow in. I see we've got Haley and Chad, a few other viewers already. Appreciate you guys. Here's our 4A bracket. The way that will stack up here. In the first matchup, we have Westside, the region number 1 seed at 5-1, hosting Irmo, the number 2 seed from region 4 at 5-2. Then we have Greer at 3-1, the region 2 number 1 seed, hosting Catawba Ridge at 5-1, the number 2 seed from region 3. Then we have South Point, the number 1 seed from region 3 at 5-2, hosting Greenwood, the number 2 from region 2 at 4-2. Then we have AC Floor, the 1 seed from region 4 at 5-0, hosting Travelers Rest, the region number 1, 2 seed at 3-2. John, first glance, what do you see here out of this top half of the 4A bracket?
Yeah, this is a pretty cool lineup. You've got a powerhouse, really in Irmo, that we see in 4A now making the playoffs. You've got, just under them, a brand new school in Catawba Ridge who we were impressed by in week 1 when they gave South Point a good fight. And they're playing a Greer team in the first round under the water tower actually on Saturday. So that's a cool game for both of those teams. And then you got Greenwood, who's making their appearance down here in the lower 4A division. They've been, 5A for a long time. You should be in the Big 16 if you go back that far. And they've had a good season. Pretty impressive season. Obviously, South Point is a favorite. And then what is cool about this is you got AC Floor, the number 1 team in 4A. They take on an upper state team in Travelers Rest in the first round. So pretty cool matchups against some teams that don't normally play one another and some teams that aren't normally in 4A.
Yeah, if you look at that first matchup, they were talking about that Westside Irmo game. Westside's a very interesting team to me, John, where they were undefeated up until a couple weeks ago. They played 5A TL Hannah, one of their rivals, crosstown rival there, and got beat pretty handily. I know it's a step up for them. It's a little bit of a change for sure. But, they were averaging about 42 points per game going into that game. TL Hannah held them to 7. That's a TL Hannah team that we saw last week who had a good defense, but I don't know if I would say it was that good of a defense to a team like that.
Yes.
So that really gives you some pause there. But they've got a good QB, Pete Zamora, the running back Puckett, wide receiver Skelton, Brownell, Smith, and Williams. Got a kind of a 4-headed monster there, including the freshman Williams. While Irmo is a team that, really had to fight up until last week to get into playoffs. They scored 28 unanswered to beat Westwood to get in there, led by Dedrick Starks and Dylan Williams. This Irmo team can play some ball, John, and I would not be surprised if they beat Westside round 1. It's going to be a very tight ball game, I think.
It's going to be a tough game. I think both teams, I don't think you could say Irmo or Westside have played a much tougher schedule. Westside stepped up. They played Hannah in one of those games, and Irmo, they're in the division with AC Floor, so they have faced the best of what 4A can offer. This is a game where I think both of these teams really have to put it all out there in this game because next week, they may not win that second round game.
Yep.
I think both of these teams, they're a little bit overmatched once we get deeper into it. But I think Westwood's a little bit better team in this one. West Side, sorry. I think West Side's a little bit better team in this matchup.
Yeah, you look at that next one there. This is an odd one with it being on Saturday. First off, the Greer-Catawba Ridge game. Greer has some COVID issues in the last couple weeks while they're playing on Saturday, I believe it is. And this Greer team, while they are a 1 seed, it's a little bit different. They're only 3-1, but they really tied for first in that region with Greenwood and Greenville. So, but they win the tiebreakers. They've got the QB, the Crosby kid's pretty good player. The wide receivers Skinner and Dearmond are really good. They got the Collins Gallant offensive line. It's a good player going to Wake there for them. We saw them in week 1, John, against Greenville, and they were not impressive. Not impressive at all. It's been a heck of a turnaround for them coming back, beating Greenwood. You saw them beat Lawrence later.
And they looked a lot better against Lawrence.
So they certainly have some good things going for them. This Catawba Ridge team will give us problems, I think, John. The Copperheads allow just about 7 points per game. Got a balanced offense. The running back, oh my gosh, I had his name here. I can't read him. Anyway, the running back's a good player there for them as well. I think this may be another game where we're seeing upset here in round 1.
I like Catawba Ridge in this game. Greer wouldn't be a team I'd want to bet on.
Right.
We saw them at Spring Stadium against Greenville in week 1. They just didn't look that great. Give Greenville credit; they looked really good.
Yep.
But in that last week that I saw them playing Lawrence, they looked better, but Lawrence just looked completely uninterested in playing that game. And you look at Catawba Ridge's schedule. They lined up and played. It was a 31-14 loss to South Point in week 1, but they were competitive in that game. That was a closer game. And then listen to this, Kev. They reel off not 1, not 2, but 3 shutouts in a row.
Oh, wow.
After that game.
That's impressive.
This defense is legit. They only gave up 9 against Chester the week after that, and then a 40-21 blowout of what might be their rival in Fort Mill, new school in Fort Mill area. I know I saw David ask that question earlier. Brand new school, Catawba Ridge, pretty cool logo, pretty cool mascot, Copperheads. I like them in this game.
Yeah, that next matchup there, we got South Point and Greenwood. South Point always a proverbial favorite in 4A. This Greenwood team, like you mentioned, dropping down from 5A. First-year head coach Chris Liner coming over from Lawrence. Like we mentioned a minute ago, they finished that 3-way tie with Greer for first place. So they could easily be on the 1 line here if a couple balls, bounce a different way.
They could easily be out.
That too, exactly. But they've kind of got the 3-headed monster there with Martin, Tolbert, and Summers running the ball. Or is it Simmons? Simmons, sorry, running the ball there. Yep, my bad. South Point, they've only got 2 losses, both the 5A teams, Dutch Fork and Northwestern. So they've had some nice wins this year. They've got the superstar Omega Blake, committed to South Carolina, really a do-it-all athlete there. They played him some wide receiver and quarterback. The worst thing about this team, John, is that I don't know if Coach Holloman and those guys have really figured out how they want to play yet, and it's almost too late to do that,
Yeah, it is, and I wish I could have seen them actually play and see what it looks like when Omega is at wide receiver.
Right.
Or what's happening in the game to say, okay, we're going to take them from wide receiver and put them at quarterback. Is it a hitting the panic button and, oh gosh, our offense stalled, we need to do something different? Or is it, okay, that drive worked great, let's try this for a drive and see how that goes? I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
I know they were kind of mixing and matching for a while, and they finally played one full game with Nabanye Moore at quarterback, and they played very well. The next week they played Dutch Fork, I believe it was, and they come back and they play Omega Blake quarterback the whole time. So it's just, I don't really know what their strategy is, and they've got a good running back there with Nigel Moore as well. I think you're almost better off having Omega play kind of a hybrid wide receiver, running back, some wildcat, but I don't think you want to play him quarterback the full time, I don't think. We saw them play last year, Johnny, against Greenville, and while he played a little bit of quarterback in that game, he was, I think, a better threat when you were just getting the ball in his hands and not telling him to throw it, because he's not a great passer of the ball, I feel like.
I agree with that. I'm a little conflicted because, I think he's more of a naturally a wide receiver, but in high school football especially, I am under the impression and line of thought, you put your best player, your best athlete at quarterback, he's touching the ball every single play, he can help make things happen, whereas at a wide receiver, maybe he touches the ball 10 times at best, maybe. But again, the argument is, well, he's not a great passer of the ball. So it's interesting. But I think in this game, they're better than Greenwood. but they need to figure it out.
Yeah.
They need to figure it out right now.
Because as you saw firsthand, Greenwood will hit you in the mouth early, and if you don't stand up to that, you're in trouble.
And what I thought was really impressive about Greenwood, we talk about some schools out here that are well coached in their scheme and the way they, the play calling and the way they fit. We talk about Gray Collegiate, how they have molded their program this year into a running game, whereas they had turnovers passing. Greenwood, well coached, but it's more of I think with Greenwood, it's more of a feel.
Yeah.
Greenwood got out there against Greenville and said, "Hey, we saw something on tape. We're gonna pooch this kick 20 yards." They fumble it. They got on it. Greenwood got the ball back after they scored and said, "We're going to do it again, and we're going to do it until you stop it."
Yeah.
They play tough on defense. They do these little ticks on offense where they come up to the line. You see colleges do it a lot. They come up to the line and they, bark a couple signals, and then they step back. And Greenwood was jumping off sides continually on that. So there's little things that Greenwood does where I think if South Point comes out there and they're not ready to play a really good game, Greenwood could trip them up.
Yep. In that bottom game, I think this one may be a blowout, John. I hate to say it about Travelers Rest and the Devil Dogs, but AC Flora is a machine right now. Number 1 in 4A. They're a really high-powered offense. The quarterback, the Beamish kid from Hillcrest, is playing really well for them. The running back, Coleman's a good player. Wide receiver, Rice is a good player. TR, we talked last week how they've kind of had a resurgence in what they've done, and how much better kind of they've turned that program around to. But I don't think they're quite ready to beat AC Flora yet in round 1.
I don't think so either. They've had this 2 years in a row now that the Travelers Rest has done pretty well. But interesting schedule that they've had. They got to play 5 games. They had 2 weeks off in a row where they didn't play a game, and they really hadn't played anybody that great.
Yep.
They dropped a relatively close game to Walhalla, 27-14. They lost to Westside 13-12. Westside's probably the best team they've played all year. They're a solid team. They deserve to be in the playoffs. They came in second in their region. But AC Flora, I think, is just better. I saw some highlights from the embarrassment they put on Lugoff Elgin. 71-8 game. And those highlights.
Those was
the camera angle was tight, but it's looking at these kids like, man, they're fast.
Yeah.
So a lot of speed, I think, on that Flora team. And it's going to be tough for TR to keep up.
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out. So we got David in here, Rashodi, Haley's in here, Chad, Melissa's in here. I see Brylan's in here now. I was asking about Greer. Yeah, we're going to circle back to Greer here in a minute, Brylan, for sure, as we talk about that Greer-Catawba Ridge game. So we move into the lower state here for a second, John. The first matchup there is at Beaufort-West Florence. This is a game, Beaufort was undefeated going into last week, and they decided to schedule a matchup against Carolina Forest, kind of a replacement game for both teams. They lost to Carolina Forest. No shame in that. A good 5A team.
Not at all.
So, it's a good test for them going into the playoffs for sure. They've got a good quarterback, the Haley kid, a couple good running backs, and Houseland Morris, both good ball players there. But this West Florence team is one that we've talked about a couple different games this year, how they got blown out by Myrtle Beach. They played North Myrtle Beach close. I think they beat Hartsville, I believe it was. They've got some athletes there, including the Nike Johnson, the cornerback commit to Virginia Tech. They've got some good running backs there. They're averaging about 225 yards per game rushing behind McKitchen and Floyd. This is a game where West Florence could easily, I think, upset Beaufort even as an at-large seed.
Yeah, I agree. You look at West Florence, they are arguably in the toughest conference or toughest region in 4A, playing with North Myrtle Beach and Myrtle Beach, and those are the only 2 games that they lost. They played really, really well. Outside of that, beating Hartsville
always
is a great sign. And you look at the other end at Beaufort, they won their region as well, but I'm not as impressed with their schedule. They beat a lot of good teams.
Yep.
But I don't know who the best team they beat is. I mean, they blew out
May River, I guess.
They blew out James Island. They beat May River really bad. They beat Bluffton, shut out Collison County, and then they stepped up in their last game, played Carolina Forest, which they lost 40-20. But to lose that Carolina Forest team 40-20, it's not bad. But an interesting schedule that Beaufort has had. It's tough. That's a tough one to predict.
Yep.
But I think West Florence might be
a
slightly better team.
I think so too.
Slightly.
This next matchup is one that got a lot more interesting in the last few days. I don't know if you've seen, John. Ryan Berger is presumed to be out for Myrtle Beach, a quarterback this week. And he may be out longer than that. So they're going to have kind of a combo of their Rhino package. Kind of, they just run the ball heavy, and also they may play some Ryan Burch and some Jake Doty at quarterback as well. So it's interesting to see how that game goes. Obviously, they've got some talented receivers with the Jones kid and the Randall kid, but can they get them the ball? I don't know. While South Aiken, they've had a good program the last few years. I don't think they're quite as good this year. The Hickson guy, quarterback's a good player, but I don't think the South Aiken team is as good as they have been, which I still think Myrtle Beach can probably get this victory.
I think so too. And, it's a different set of kids for Myrtle Beach.
Yep.
But this is the same situation they were in last year.
Yep.
And people were thinking, oh no, they don't have Luke Doty. What are they going to do? And I think people on the outside, including ourselves, that had not seen them play before, thought, oh, if they're losing their best player,
replace that guy, right? Yeah.
How are they going to win a game? And I'm not going to say they didn't skip a beat, but they played pretty doggone good without him. And I expect them to do well, next man up mentality here, at least in this game.
Yep.
I think they may not blow them out, but I think they should control the game.
Yeah, this next one here is a game, that I know a lot about North Myrtle Beach. I don't know much about James Island at all. But North Myrtle Beach is the 1 seed here, hosting James Island. They've got a really good kind of tandem there with the quarterback Freeman, the running backs Vereen, and the wide receiver Anderson. It's really a very good trio for them there. I don't know anything about James Island, but I don't think they can beat North Myrtle Beach.
I don't think so either.
Because who can, really, in all honesty?
We just talked trash about Beaufort a little bit. James Island was third in that region behind May River and Beaufort.
Yep.
And, for James Island, they lost to the better teams on their schedule. They beat the bad teams, but they really got beat up.
Yep.
They're a lot like Beaufort, I think, where they're not super tested outside that Carolina Forest game.
Yep.
But when they got tested, they got beat. They got beat bad. May River beat them 28-7. Beaufort beat them 46-6. They lost a game at Hilton Head as well. They had a tough game against smaller Bishop England. Again, they went 3 overtimes. I'm not sure. I don't know how the wild card, that third spot, works, but I'm very surprised that James Island got it. To be honest.
Yeah, that's an odd pick for sure. There in the bottom, the last matchup in the lower state, we have North Augusta, the home team, hosting May River, in what could be a pretty good ball game there, John. May River averages about 250 yards rushing per game, which is really a attack led by running back Ahmad Green, a Mr. Football finalist here in the state. While with North Augusta, they're kind of the exact opposite. They average about 250 yards passing each week behind quarterback Harrell. Running back Buxton's a good player, and they got the wide receivers Wilbur and Jones and Bridges, kind of three-headed monster there that they all get the ball to. But, John, I'm just going to say it right now. If you look through this 4A bracket, I could see a lot of 2 seeds beating 1 seeds here in round 1. Not just in this game, but just up and down the bracket, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'll be a great game. And we got to remember, this is the same classification last year. We saw a Greer team who had won just a couple games upset South Point in round 1 on the road, the number 1 team in 4A. So something that this division is certainly used to. So that could be something that we may see a lot of this weekend, John. What do you, when we just talk about this 4A classifications here, what do you see as some upsets, some favorites, some dark horses here, especially starting tomorrow night?
I don't know if you want to call it an upset or not. I think North Augusta beats May River.
Yeah.
I think they're a better team.
Technically, they're the 1 seed, so yeah.
But they're 3 points away from being undefeated.
Yeah.
They lost that first game to Blythewood.
To it's a pretty good 5A team.
Solid, pretty solid 5A team in Blythewood. So I think North Augusta wins that game. I like West Florence could certainly win that Beaufort game as well. It's hard to say who is. I know you have the 1 and the 2, but we look at these different regions, and I'm not so sure the 2 in one region is not as good or better than the 1 in another region.
Yep.
I think it's pretty even on a lot of these games on both sides.
Yeah, I think a lot of these
especially
games,
here in the lower state.
A lot of them are toss-ups. I see, maybe AC Florida probably blows out Travelers Rest. North Myrtle Beach probably blows out James Island. Besides that, I think the other matchups are all going to be pretty tight. I really think so.
Myrtle Beach down their quarterback, that game gets a lot more interesting.
Could get flipped completely, yeah. So I do want to circle back to Greer for a second for Bryland here. You talk about Greer, how they've been kind of bit by COVID, and that does worry me a little bit. They've only played 4 games this year. While I look at the Catawba Ridge team that's played 6. I know you say it's only 2 games, not a big deal. But when it's literally 4 to 6, 4 is not a lot of football. It's really not.
No.
So you wonder how much, if that affects them at all. You don't really know. But I like what they've done since that opening game. We saw them play week 1 against Greenville. Not impressive at all. The Scott twins on the D-line really tore up Greer all night long, it felt like.
They tore up most everybody they played.
Yep.
Greenwood had a good plan of, we're not going to go at them. We're going to just go up the middle.
Yeah.
But, I mean, those guys, which is incredible. They're good enough to where at a high school level, you got a game plan for them.
Yeah. But then, like I said, since then, Greer has been a different football team, beating Greenwood, beating Lawrence, beating Eastside. Everybody they had to. With Crosby playing better, the receivers Skinner and De'Aaron playing better. So going to be a good matchup there Saturday for sure under the water tower. And I don't really know who I want to pick, John. In all honesty, I think that's going to be a game that Catawba Ridge could pull the upset in.
They very well could, and I like Catawba Ridge in this game.
Yeah,
I think they will pull the upset in this one. I think part of it is they've played a little bit more, and this is. The new is not worn off for this team.
Yeah.
It's exciting. You're at a new school. You got new uniforms. You got a little bit of juice that you're playing with this year, and they probably are playing better than they expected them to come out.
Yeah.
A whole new team, whole new program. I like Catawba Ridge in this game.
Yeah, that should be a really good ball game. I'm not sure I'm going to pick you. I'm going to think about that for a little bit, but that should be a really good one. I want to shout out Rashodi, pick West Florence for the upset, pick Myrtle Beach and North Augusta to win. So it should be a good ball game there. Ryland said that they're hungry, got a chip on their shoulder for sure at Greer. And that's the thing, we talked about, John, a minute ago. This is a program where you can't count them out. They've got a good coaching staff there. Last year didn't have their best season record-wise in the regular season. They come out and they upset the number one team in round one. So you certainly cannot count out Greer, and they're going to be a tough out for anybody. But yeah, it should be a great ball game there Saturday between Greer and Catawba Ridge. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, the George Agency. Open enrollment is here. If you need insurance for yourself or for your business, give those guys a call. Maybe you're a seasonal worker. Maybe your job just doesn't offer it. You need to get it. Get these guys on board with you. If you're a business owner, you can buy it for your whole company. If you need Medicare, you can get it there as well. So talk to the guys at georgeagency.net. Offices in Mullins and Merle's Inlet, but they can work all over the state. So give them a call for sure. Thank you guys for tuning in today. I see we got about 10 or 12 viewers right now. Like I said, Brian, Rashodi, Haley, David, Melissa, a lot of group tuning in. We appreciate you guys there. Like, share, comment, subscribe here on Facebook. Also go follow us on Twitter at Movin the Chains, Instagram Movin Chains. And if you want to hear the audio-only version, check us out on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're everywhere that you can find us. So love to have you guys tuning in. We did our show Tuesday or Monday night. Had some good feedback for sure. And hopefully this one will do just as well, John. I had a lot of fun doing it, and it's been fun so far as well. So want to move on to 5A now, John?
Well, let's step back here for a second.
Take a step.
What do you see happening in 4A once all the dust settles?
Man, in this upper state, I think it's very hard to pick against AC Flora. Like I said, that's the one team where I think I know what's going to happen in round one.
Yeah.
The other ones I see maybe some toss-ups here and there. But I think AC Flora is going to win against TR. And I worry if they play Greenwood because Greenwood is just a different style of football. It's a little more physical,
Florida, I don't know if we got any friends of the show that are AC Flora. Mm-hmm. It's a soft school.
Oh, John. Well, John, hold on. You're a Lou Golf Elgin guy. You can't be saying that to last week, John.
Well,
I think AC Flora out of the upper state and the lower state. It's hard to go against what North Myrtle Beach is doing right now, and Coach Reel and those guys. Beating Myrtle Beach last week, finished off an undefeated season. They're playing some really good football right now. I'm thinking we're looking at those two teams probably matching up for the state championship. What do you think?
I tell you, I think I'm gonna go on a little bit of a flyer.
Okay.
Tiny flyer. I think South Point or Greenwood. If Greenwood is able to pull up, I think South Point wins there. I think South Point beats Florida in the second round.
Really?
I think South Point gets to Columbia where they face North Myrtle Beach.
Okay. That could certainly happen. It wouldn't surprise me at all. That would be that round 2 game will be great. I think that may be the game. That round 2 game right there between South Point, Greenwood, one of those two, and AC4, maybe for the upper state right there in round 2.
Yes. In
all honesty. But we'll see. A lot of football still to be played for sure. Rashodi's got AC4 and Myrtle Beach for state, same as I do. Shout out Brooke for tuning in. Thank you, Brooke, for watching us tonight as well. John, let's take a step over to 5A now and look at that bracket and run through that for these guys here. The first matchup we see is TL Hanna, a team we saw last week. 5-0, the Region 1 seed, playing host to Ridgeview. 5-1, Region 4's 2 seed. Then we get Gaffney, the Region 3 number 1 seed, hosting Burns, 2-2, the 2 seed out of Region 2. Dorman, the 1 seed from Region 2 at 3-1, hosting Boiling Springs, 4-2, the number 2 seed from Region 3. And then Northwestern at 5-0, number 1 out of Region 4, is hosting Hillcrest, number 2 from Region 1 at 4-1. Could be a lot of good ball games here, John. What do you see right off the bat that you like here in Upper State 5A? Actually, let me get this comment in here about Florida right quick. David says South Point versus North Myrtle Beach. He said Florida can't hang with the speed of South Point. I don't know if I agree with that comment.
Florida looked awfully fast.
But I could certainly see AC Florida losing South Point either way. And then Charles says AC Florida is coming on both sides of the ball. So that AC Florida team, and there's a reason they're ranked number 1, John. They're a good football team. But so on to 5A now, John. The 5A we just ran through here, Upper State 5A. What do you like here? Or do you want me to start going through the games? We'll just kind of comment as we go here.
Yeah, so I think Hillcrest and Ridgeview, I know a lot of people in the Upstate don't want to hear this. That is going to be a very, very even game.
Teal Hannah Ridgeview.
Teal Hannah Ridgeview, sorry. Hannah Ridgeview will be a very, very tight game. And Ridgeview, surprisingly enough, they played Malden this season. Knocked off Malden 17-7. So they've gotten a taste of what the Upstate football is about. They play, and remember we talked about Malden at the beginning of the year and how much talent
we thought they were going to be good. Well, they were not.
So I think that's going to be a close game. I'm going to take Hannah just because it's at home.
Yep.
Going to that stadium, and I know I talked about it a lot last week. Going to that stadium is impressive. I mean, I was looking. I've been to a lot of college stadiums, and I'm not saying it's better than a college stadium, but for a high school stadium, I'm looking around going, man, this is impressive.
Yep.
So I think being at home, Hannah has a big league feel to them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to make the difference in that game.
Yeah. You know, being that kind of option offense they run too, where you got to really play perfect to beat them. You can't make stupid mistakes. You can't make penalties. So Ridgeview had the work cut out for them for sure. You know, Hannah with the quarterback Horn, the running back the Hudson kid are good players, and I think people are kind of sleeping on their defense. Like their defense is not great, but it's pretty good. I felt like they played pretty well against Hillcrest. Well, Ridgeview, the thing that worries me, John, is like, I know they beat Malden, but I mean that might be their biggest win, which kind of worries me. I feel like they don't really have a big win this year.
In Spring Valley, I feel like Spring Valley, every good team they play, they gave them a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Spring Valley's the team that they beat early on. They beat Rock Hill in double overtime. Rock Hill again, not a great team, but
yeah.
Again, Rock Hill, everyone they played, they gave a hard time to.
That's true.
They didn't beat anybody good. They shut out Blythewood 7-0. It's hard to tell with these guys, but you look at their scores and you go, oh, okay, they play pretty good defense.
Yep.
You look at Hannah, okay, they play pretty good defense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be, and from what we saw from Hannah last week too, they didn't make any mistakes.
Yeah.
They didn't have a ton of penalties. Hillcrest killed themselves with penalties. Hannah didn't do that. I don't know how Ridgeview is, but I would assume they're very similar. If they're not giving up many points, they're probably not turning the ball over a ton, probably not making a bunch of mistakes, at least on defense. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll be who can play more of a clean game.
Yep.
Who can hang on to the football.
Yep. Yeah, Ridgeview, they've got a good quarterback. That Washington kid's been there a couple of years. He's a pretty good playmaker for them. But like I said, you've got to be perfect to beat Teal Hannah. You can't do anything dumb, and I just don't know if we can rely on Ridgeview to play that kind of game Friday night.
But are they that much better?
They might be. I don't know.
I don't think, because I think you could put your Ridgeview hat on and say, hey, Hannah's got to play pretty good.
That's true.
If they want to beat us.
That's true.
I think it's going to be whoever, and this is pretty cliche, I know, but whoever plays the better game will win. But I don't think Ridgeview has to do anything
and they're
crazy to win this game.
Taking a step up to 5A, they've been 4A in the past. They've always made some pretty good runs in 4A. So you can see how they take their first time in the playoffs in 5A. But
it used to be Ridgeview used to be the big school. Mm-hmm. Okay, Ridgeview and Spring Valley were the big schools. I know some of you guys around the Midlands know this already. And then when they built Blythewood, it seemed a lot of talent. Marquand Jones, Richard Mounts, kids like that went to Blythewood. Mm-hmm. And now I think it's starting to even back out a little bit for whatever reason. I don't know. But that talent gap seems to be coming back down a little bit. Or coming a little more even.
So, could be a great ballgame there for sure. Our next matchup over at the Reservation, Gaffney hosting Burns. John, this is a game where if Burns doesn't figure it out, it's going to get ugly.
Yeah, and this seems so weird
To say, right? Yeah.
That Burns in the playoffs, it could be in trouble in round one.
Yeah.
But who we would say this about any. To be fair to Burns, we would be saying this about, I think, probably any other team in the upper state.
Yeah.
If they had gotten this wrong.
Yeah.
Gaffney has been very, very good this season.
Yep.
And what was the stat? They haven't
lost in 40 years. One time in 40 years at home in the playoffs. And that's a team, they probably have maybe the best win in the state when they beat Dorman. They the best one anybody has. And, that was a 1-point game, back and forth ball game. But, I mean, their team is a team. I really like those guys. The quarterback, Andre Lindsey. The running back, the Dowdle kid. Wide receivers, Johnson and Kobe Paysauer. You look at the defensive side, they got Tyrone Ingram Dawkins on the line, who's committed to Georgia. The linebacker, Burgess is a good player there. Gaffney just has talent everywhere, while Burns doesn't quite have the amount of talent they usually do, I feel like. Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, no, you're...
I'll tell you, the quarterback position is really what's holding back, we think. They've kind of played some of the Blackman kid who can really run it, but he can't really throw it. They played the Rogers kid there. Somebody's a young kid, he can throw it, but he's still growing, he's still learning. It's going to be tough for those guys to go to Gaffney and win.
It is, but I think there's two things that Burns, I think, has in their favor in this game. Full disclosure, I think Gaffney wins the game. Mm-hmm. But you look at Gaffney, we've pumped him up, we've talked so good about him. I don't know if you've realized this. So, Gaffney, they have played 5 games this year, right? Mm-hmm. 5-0. 3 of those games have been one-score games. They beat Dorman 30-29. Great win, right?
Yep.
The next week they go to Fort Mill. They beat Nation 4 41-40.
That was one that we weren't. We didn't really know what happened there, and that was an odd game for sure.
And then last week they beat Blythewood 24-18. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's so. Do you think Blythewood is much better than Burns? Probably not. Is Nation 4 any better than Burns?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So if they come out and they put out one of these games that they put out against Nation 4 or even what they did last week against Blythewood, Burns has got a shot. And also for Burns, my second point, Burns, they're not stupid. Those guys, they know what's going on. Yeah. They know they lost to Camden last week. They know they've lost 2 in a row. They kind of don't have a whole lot to lose.
Everybody's 0-0. Throw the record books out, man. This is a big-time rivalry.
Everybody's going Gaffney, Reservation, Georgia. They got all this talent.
Yeah.
What would be better for a down Burns team to go to the Reservation and win? No pressure.
Burns, they'd have to have a big game, I think, from Mac Long. They'd have to get Nana Burris involved somehow. He's their best playmaker they've got, and he's just not getting the ball enough for them right now. Part of that's probably the quarterback issue, which I don't know what they're going to do Friday. I don't know who they're going to play. I have no idea. But I think I've got to go with Gaffney. I think they just got too much talent, and Burns just has not impressed me really any of their games so far this year. Is the problem. I know they won 2 games, but they beat Spartanburg and they beat Riverside, something like that. Whatever.
Let me clarify here, Patrick. I'm not picking Burns.
I don't know. Patrick said John's picking Burns. Quote. Direct quote.
I think the game can be closer than some would expect.
Direct quote.
I'm not picking Burns.
Yeah, Rashodi picks Gaffney as well. Patrick says, quote from Dan Jones, it doesn't matter who has the most points in the end. If it's 1 or 10, you still win. That's exactly right. So it should be a good ball game. I think we're both on the Burns side for sure. Sorry. Whoa, both on the Gaffney side. On the Gaffney side for sure. But should be a good time Friday night over the Reservation. Those guys always play good, The next matchup, Dorman Bowling Springs. Bowling Springs, I was a lot higher on John before last week when they lost to Spartanburg. That really kind of worries me. The quarterback Jalen Dodd's a good player. Because really they had lost week 1 to Gaffney, had ran the table until last week. It was Spartanburg, so that worries me for them. While Dorman, they're going to be good every year. They just keep chugging. They lost to Gaffney by a point, beat Burns pretty handily, a couple scores there. The quarterback, I think, is being slept on. Everybody talks about Chance Black. Their quarterback, Zay Foster, is a very good football player there for them. And not only Chance Black, they got Ty Lindsay, they got Kendall Norman. They got all these guys they can get the ball to. And obviously the defense is always pretty solid for those guys, for Coach Gutschall. But Dorman, I think, is probably going to beat Bowling Springs by a few scores here Friday night.
I don't think it's going to be more than 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bowling Springs is a good team. last week it scares me too, but that was one game.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of their season, they've played pretty well. And I think Gorman wins this game, but it's going to be – I think they're going to come out of this game going, all right, we better be ready.
Yeah.
We better be ready for the rest of this playoff run because, you look at the rest, you look at these other guys in this bracket, Boiling Springs is no joke, but second round, they're not going to get a gimme either.
Yeah. Well, you got a quarterback like Boiling Springs does, Jalen Dodd, who's really a dual threat guy. That can really, if he gets hot, he can win you a ball game. With him be able to run and throw for sure. Got a couple more comments here. Charles says sometimes it takes a loss to open their eyes and give Gaffney a good game. So I think Charles says Burns is going to play well is what I'm taking from that comment. Patrick said it'll be Dorman game all over again, which is, I don't know if that's what Gaffney wants for sure.
That'd be great to see.
Jay Law says the upstate just has some monsters. I agree with that. They've got some very good football players up there for sure. And Rashodi picks Dorman to win that game. And the last one in Upper State, John, that we have, Northwestern undefeated hosting Hillcrest, the team we saw last week. Northwestern led by quarterback Will Madison and running backs Quay Howard and the Aldridge kid. Hillcrest, undefeated until last week and lost to T.L. Hanna. Quarterback Bennett, running back McDaniels. Pretty solid defense, I felt like, John, for those guys.
Very solid.
This is kind of maybe one of my favorite games to talk about this weekend. I think it's going to be a really fun game.
I think it's going to be a fun game. I think we've talked a lot about the Upper State and how good they are, and I feel, we kind of, or at least in my opinion, I don't consider York County Upper State. They're kind of in their own world.
Yeah.
But I think Northwestern's going to beat them.
Think so?
I think I'm not going to say they're going to kill them.
Yeah.
But I could see a 10-point game.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think Northwestern is better than Hannah.
Probably.
Hillcrest just I wanted to see more out of Hillcrest last week.
Open up the offense, though. Let the kid throw it around a little bit. Do something.
Open it up earlier because he has a good arm. I'd like to see more out.
Yeah, agreed. But it should be a good ball game there Friday night for sure as well. And as we look at the lower state and run through those here, of course, number 1 seed as always, Dutch Fork at I got the wrong bracket up here.
Somerville.
Sorry, yes, Dutch Fork 6-0, Region 5 number 1 seed will be hosting Somerville 4-3, Region 8 number 2 seed. Goose Creek, the number 1 from Region 7 at 5-2, is hosting Carolina Forest 6-1, the 2 seed from Region 6. Sumter undefeated out of Region 6, 6-0, the 1 seed there hosting Berkeley, the 2 seed from Region 7 at 4-3. And then Fort Dorchester 7-0 from Region 8, the 1 seed hosting River Bluff, the 2 seed from Region 5 at 3-1. John, this is a lower state here where usually in years I feel like we talk about it and it's like, oh, Dutch Fork's going to walk to the state championship. No big deal there. I think there's a couple teams here, John, that could actually maybe challenge those guys before they get to Columbia.
I think so too. I'm not sure Somerville is one of them.
No.
Somerville has played everyone pretty tight this year, and they've gotten to play 7 games, which is pretty good for this year. But they didn't beat a single playoff team.
So inconsistent, and I feel like and they coughed up some leads too. They had a lead on Fort Dorchester. They had a lead on I think it was Goose Creek or some other team.
Goose Creek, I believe.
Goose Creek coughed that up as well. So you got to be able to finish at some point,
And this is a Somerville team. I think it was a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now. I had listened. They played Lugoff Elgin first round of playoffs. They won that game, something to the tune of 10-7 or 13-10, a low scoring defensive game, and it was one that they stole.
Yeah,
Lugoff Elgin. Obviously, we saw what they did last week. Giving up 71 on the floor. Not a great football program.
Not right now, at least.
They should have beat Somerville down in Somerville last year. I know it's a totally different year, different kids, but Somerville is not. They're not on a level to be able to give Dutch Fork a game.
Yeah, Dutch Fork, the quarterback Taylor, the QB or the baseball and football commit to Clemson there. The running back Green, wide receiver Spencer and Williams, both averaging over 20 yards a catch. A lot of offensive firepower there for those guys, and Somerville just so inconsistent. I just can't pick them to keep this game close. Probably it's probably be a 20-point game or so. I think really. The next one there is one that I am very intrigued by, John. That's Goose Creek and Carolina Forest. Goose Creek, the quarterback Moore, the running back Simmons, while Carolina Forest, averaging 43 points a game, John. That's a high-powered offense there. They had to replace Mason Garcia, but Kyle Watkins has done a great job there, kind of a dual-threat quarterback. The running back, Luke Janik, is a grid-time player. They scored 70 a couple weeks ago, John. So these guys have put up some points for sure. That game is one that, I don't know which way I want to lean in that one. Do you?
I think I'm going to go Goose Creek in this game because it's at Goose Creek.
Yep.
But I'm not super sold on Carolina Forest. I know we talked about them that hey we haven't given these guys enough love. They had a great run last year, won the state championship, but they just their best win this year was probably Buford.
Yeah. What was do you have that Sumter score there in front of you? I can't remember what that was.
They lost 34-27 to Sumter.
It's not bad. A pretty good Sumter team.
A good Sumter team, but again they lost.
Yep.
And I think Goose Creek, they're probably as good or better than Sumter.
Yeah.
And the game being down there, I think that's going to be that's a long ride from the beach to go down to Goose Creek. I think Goose Creek wins this game. Maybe I'm giving them brownie points for the videos. Those
good videos on Instagram for sure. Follow those guys on there.
But I think it'll be a close game. I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina Forest goes down there and wins. But there's nothing about what I've seen from Carolina Forest this year from, on Fridays, who they played, what they did, to make me think, oh, yeah, they're going to kill Goose Creek. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, a couple comments here. Jay says that Spring Valley played Dutch Fork pretty close. It was only 21-0. That's true.
They played everybody close.
That is one game this year where, one Friday night I looked at the scores like, oh, wait, Dutch Fork. What are they doing here? That's not They still win about 3 scores. It's just, it just seems odd for them for sure. And then Charles says Dutch Fork won't win state this year. Quarterback is too predictable, can't handle the pressure or improvise.
Okay.
Interesting comment there from Charles. That would be an interesting ball game for sure.
It's a new quarterback. They don't have
Olenchuk anymore. That's right. That's
right. What's the baseball commit?
Well, shout out. Also, I see Eric tuning in. Thank you, Eric, for giving us a view here for sure. The next matchup there, John. This is one that I think might get out of hand. Sumter and Berkeley. I know we had a comment earlier from Jay Law saying that how do we think Berkeley will stand with their quarterback being out, having to replace their quarterback. I don't think it really matters. I think Sumter's better either way than those guys are, in all honesty. I'm a big fan of the Sumter team. The quarterback Vasquez, the lefty kid's been there for years. He's a good player. The running back Harris Wainick is a beast there. The wide receivers Lane, really good player there. And then you talk about the D-line with Boone and Jackson, 2 D1 commits. They've got a pretty solid all-around team, John.
That is very scary to have at this level of football. And, they've taken care of business all season.
Yep.
You line up their opponent, and they've just gone out there and beat them. They've done what we've all expected them to do. Play pretty good defense and win ball games. Carolina Forest, again, I don't think they're great, but, beating Carolina Forest 34-27, that's a good win. No one else got further than Carolina Forest and Dutch Fork last year in the playoffs. So, I like Sumter in this game.
Yep.
Especially with Berkeley's quarterback being out. Yep. I think Sumter's got a chance to make a little bit of run. And I think we said the same thing last year, too.
I do, too. And they ended up losing to, was it Burns? No, 2 years ago lost to Burns anyway. In the last game here in Lower State, we got Fort Dorchester hosting River Bluff. Fort Dorchester, the quarterback, the Osborne kid. Running back, Wright, Washington McKelvey, good players there. While River Bluff, quarterback Jackson Stone doesn't really throw it a ton. They're really led by running back Riley Myers. Last week against Lexington, he had 5 touchdown runs. They're only also the Dutch Fork, John, in week 1.
Yeah.
So they're a team that they can be sneaky, and Fort Dorchester's going to play a good game for sure to win.
Exactly. And, it's hard to say. It's hard to put Dutch Fork as your litmus test because they've just blown out everybody pretty much. I thought I saw the box score with South Point and go, well, not the box score, the final score, and go, oh, okay, 35-7. I think you said the game was like 28-0.
Wasn't really close,
Or maybe it was 35-0 at the half. So it's hard to judge what you do against Dutch Fork. And then you look at the rest of their games, and, well, they ain't really playing anybody.
Yep.
So I think, I hope they can give a good game in this one, but they don't win.
I think Fort Dorchester's too powerful. I agree with you there.
And Fort Dorchester's played very well lately, and they've played very well in close games.
Yep.
Which I think is huge when you come down to the playoffs.
Yeah. So who do you like, John? Maybe what's who are your favorites here in 5A at Upper and Lower State here? I guess looking at it.
I think Gaffney is going to. I think Gaffney's going to have a fun second round game. I think they could play. I think they're going to play Ridgeview. And I think that's going to be a fun game. It's going to be against a program that they're not familiar with as much. And you know what? I know people aren't going to like this, and people are going to go, "You're crazy." I think Northwestern will not top to one.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think we see Gaffney, Northwestern, an old 4A. 4A was the big boys. An old 4A region matchup between Gaffney and Northwestern. I think Gaffney wins that game and goes to Columbia. And I think they'll face Dutch Fork, but I think Fort Dorchester is going to do a lot like what Carolina Forest did last year. Get to that game. I think Fort Dorchester is going to give them a game.
Yeah.
I think that will be a very, very good game. But I think we see Gaffney, Dutch Fork for the state championship.
Yeah, here we've got a comment from Charles. Says Sumter will win the first round easy. Had the talent to win state, but coaching always kills them. And plus he barely sub-starters to give some guys more experience. That's not an ideal strategy there for sure. John, looking at 4A or 5A here, sorry. I think my favorite in the Open State is going to be Gaffney. Like I said, they've got the best win in the state, and they probably have, I think, maybe the most talent in the state too. We talk about Dutch Fork every year,
certainly.
But this year, you look at what Gaffney's got on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. Maybe Sumter with the D-line talent can match up there with them, but as far as what they've got on the offensive side with the Lindsey kid, a Howard committed quarterback, Pace Sauer, a wide receiver commit from North Carolina, they've got guys everywhere they can get the ball to. I think Gaffney wins the upper state. I think in the lower state, I'm very close to picking Sumter to beat Dutch Fork. I don't know if I want to do it or not, but I like this Sumter team a lot. I liked them a lot last year. They got a disappointment last year.
Fort Dorchester.
I kind of do.
Okay.
I like the quarterback, the Vasquez kid, and Harris Wayne has really been just a workhorse for them this year. Charles says Fort Dorchester wins state. I could see
like
it.
that
That's
pick.
a good football team
that.
there. And this is a year, like we mentioned when we started this thing here, John, where there's guys in the lower state who can challenge Dutch Fork. Where usually it's not really that case. They may have one tough game until then. There's 3 or 4 teams that can give them a pretty good ball game here.
And Dutch Fork came out on top last year in a close game against Dorman.
Mm-hmm.
But how do they? Again, the closest game that this team has played was a 21-0 game.
Mm-hmm. It's a Spring Valley this year.
Spring Valley. So if they get in another pressure cooker, where Fort Dorchester goes, hey, we do this every week.
Yep.
We know what the deal is.
Yep.
Maybe not for Dutch Fork.
Yep. We got Jay here answering your question, John. He says that Sumter doesn't really play their guys both ways, only in short yardage situations.
Okay.
So that makes sense. But hey, I'll tell you what. I've seen this several times in the playoffs where a team hadn't done that all year. In the playoffs, they may start doing it. If they know that's their best package on the field with those guys there, you may see a lot more of it here in round
but
1.
But what Charles said, what worries me, and the reason I asked that question, Charles says they don't really sub out their starters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is Sumter going to get to December?
Mm-hmm.
They can be worn out.
Yeah, that's also.
If these guys are just gassed, you don't want to be gassed coming and playing a Dutch Fork team that's played, basically 2 quarters, 3 quarters in all their games, and should be, you would think, pretty refreshed and ready to go.
Yep.
Well, maybe not refreshed, but not beaten down.
And you do worry a little bit about that team because that region's not very good. Carolina Forest is pretty good. Besides that, Socastee, Conway, St. James, all pushovers. I know they scheduled, I think, Rock Hill. They beat them out of conference or out of region this year. It's a good win there. But I do like what Sumter does. Charles says, remember the Lexington game a few years ago? They gave him a 5-yard buffer for the win. Yeah, that was something, wasn't it? But
what are they doing?
This 5A is going to be a lot of fun, John. Let's see anything else we need to hit on here before we get to some next comments here. We got our favorites picked there. We did that. John, I want to shout out to George H. one more time before we get out of here for sure. Insurance needs, give these guys a call. Whether it's personal for yourself, whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, whether it's for your whole business you own, check them out at georgehc.net, George H. on Facebook. Open enrollment's going on now. It's till the end of the month. So give them a call, get that set up, and get that going right now as soon as you can. They don't charge you to work with you. The insurance costs the same whether you work with them or somebody else, but they can give you just, I guess, kind of a advisor point of view where you might as well talk to them. They know better than what you do for what you really need because they know how these processes work. So give the guys a call, let them help you out with your insurance for sure.
They do this stuff every day.
Exactly.
We do it once a year.
Maybe once a year. Maybe. Yeah.
We never do it once a
year. Yeah. A couple more viewers here. Michael's in here. I see Charlie's in here. Pete's in here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it. If you're just starting to watch now, obviously you can watch it from the beginning once we get done here on Facebook Live. We also put it on YouTube afterwards. Also put it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify for the audio-only version. Tune in there. Like, share, subscribe, comment, tell your friends. Want to shout out to you guys for sure for watching us this week, tonight and on Monday. We really enjoyed that and having you guys tune in with us and check us out. We're also on Twitter and Instagram, Movin the Chains. So that's where we do more like some cool photos, some cool updates. I posted a photo today from the Burns West Side game from a couple years ago. The coin toss there. Posted a picture from radio from Friday Night at Hand of the statue we took a picture of a couple days ago as well. So some cool stuff there. John, I do want to get into this kind of housekeeping note here before we get out of here. Is the state championship locations were announced today?
Yes, finally.
Yes, finally. So the SCHSL, so they're going to do it. I think it was Monday. That didn't happen, but they announced today they're going to be playing 3 games at Spring Valley High School, and they're going to be playing 2 games at Benedict College. They have not stated which classifications it will be at what time or where, but I believe both locations will host a game Friday night around 7:30. And Saturday, Spring Valley will host one at 11 a.m. and one at 7:30 p.m. Time to get everybody out and clean and all that stuff. And then Benedict will host one, I think, at 3:30 or so on Saturday. So who knows what the classifications are going to be, but that should be a fun weekend. I'm glad they're kind of able to get it done around the middle of the state. That's a good thing, I think, there, John. But, I've not been to Spring Valley Stadium. Have you seen it? Is it big? What are some sides? If you guys in the chat have been there, let us know. But I've never been to Spring Valley, so I don't know what it looks like.
It is the newly renovated Harry Perone Stadium there in Northeast Columbia. And I have not been inside in years, but I've driven by recently, last few months, and it looks very, very nice from the outside. It's got some personality to it. It's a very nice looking stadium. They just did some work on it a year, maybe 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it looks really, really nice. They've done a great job, and it's in a great area. There's a ton of stuff to eat. If you want to burn some time between games, you got plenty to get into. Sand Hills is right there.
Yep.
It's right off the interstate, pretty much. And then I believe Benedict had renovated their stadium recently too. I know Benedict and Allen had been playing at the old Bolden Stadium, and correct me if I'm wrong here, guys in the Midlands, they either completely renovated Bolden Stadium a couple years ago, or either built a new stadium. I think they completely renovated Bolden is what they did, and I haven't been there since it got renovated, but I've heard great things. I've heard that it's a pretty nice facility too. So yeah, it sounds like they picked two great venues.
Yeah, and I'm glad that's finally out there now, because people were kind of worried, or not worried, but wondering like what's going on here. John and I are going to try to get down there to cover it if we get some passes. The SCHSL is a little slow, responding to emails sometimes. Surprise, surprise! If you know how to do anything.
They got a lot on their plate.
Yeah, obviously. So we'll see how that goes. That'd be a lot of fun for sure, John. I want you to give me maybe your favorite game or two from tomorrow out of 4 and 5A.
So,
what are some matchups that you like?
I tell you, just quick glance. I think in 4A, the 2 games that I am very excited about are Greer, Catawba Ridge.
Okay. So Saturday, Greer, Catawba Ridge.
Saturday,
guys. Yep.
Yeah, Saturday, Greer, Catawba Ridge, and then also South Point, Greenwood.
Yeah, that's going to be a whale of a ball game there, I think, for sure. My 4A matchups I'm looking forward to, I think that South Point Greenwood is going to be good. I really like the way this North Augusta May River game looks.
That's really fun. I think North Augusta wins that game.
Yeah,
that could be a fun
kind of
game.
a contrasting style where May River runs it a ton, North Augusta's going to throw it a ton. Interesting see how that one turns out. That's a couple in 4A that I like. In 5A, John, it's hard to go against this one because it's hard to pick it as well, because it's always a good rivalry, Gaffney-Burns. But this year, it's like, are the teams really competitive? I don't even know. But that's a game I'm really looking forward to, Gaffney-Burns, for sure.
Yeah, and if you're Gaffney, just the fact that it's Burns, you got to take it very serious.
Yep.
Because Burns is.
Yep.
But yeah, the whole upstate's going to be pretty fun to watch in 5A tomorrow night.
Yep.
My favorite game in the upper state tomorrow for 5A, though, is Hannah and Ridgeview.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
I think that's going to be a very close game that could go either way. And then the lower state, I'm excited about Carolina Forest Goose Creek.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite as well. Besides that, I guess maybe Fort Dutchess or River Bluff, because I think River Bluff's a team that we still don't know a ton about. They lost to Dutch Fork. Besides that, they didn't do a whole lot really the rest of the year. So who really knows how good they are? But I think that Goose Creek Carolina Forest game is probably my favorite in the lower state for sure. Patrick says we should make the trip to the reservation. Patrick, I think the tickets are sold out, so I don't know if we can get into the game tomorrow.
If you know it in.
I have to talk to our guy. I tried to email Zach, and he didn't get back to me yet about that. So if you know somebody over there who can hook us up, Patrick, let us know. We'll love to head over there tomorrow night for sure. Now, John, next thing I want from you is I want an upset in both classifications tomorrow.
Well,
4A and 5A.
I already gave you my very unpopular 4A upset.
Give me I want a guaranteed upset. I don't want any,
A guarantee? Oh, gosh. Oh, boy. I'm going Catawba Ridge over Greer.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to win that game. I think that's going to be the upset in 4A.
Yep. In 4A, like I mentioned when we went through it, I think a lot of these games could be upsets. I could see Irma winning. I could see Catawba Ridge winning. I could see West Florence win. I can see South Aiken maybe winning with Myrtle Beach's quarterback being out. Maybe River could win.
Yeah, either one could win that.
I'll tell you the one I'm going to go with, John, though, is that I think that may shock people here. I'm taking Greenwood to beat South Point.
Nice.
I think that Greenwood team, the hard-nosed physical style, and South Point just not really knowing their identity yet, just worries me so much. I'm going to go Greenwood to win that one. And now, if we're looking at 5A, John, we'll do the same thing here in 5A. Man, oh man, this is a little bit tougher for me to pick an upset here in this one because I don't see as many sitting there. Do you have one off the top of your head that you like? I know you said you like Ridgeview there.
Ridgeview.
Is that the one you're going to go with?
I go Ridgeview.
I think I'm going to have to go with Carolina Forest then to beat Goose Creek. Besides that, I think there's a little bit of a gap between the teams. Maybe Boiling Springs with Dodd gets hot. I don't know. Maybe Burns figures something out. I don't know if they can or not. Besides that, I don't see Sumter losing to Berkeley. I don't see Dutchford losing to Somerville. So it's almost got to be Carolina Forest.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you there in the lower state. Mm-hmm. I think, if Dorman's not on their game, Boiling Springs could really give them a fight. Mm-hmm. And Hillcrest Northwestern, I'm picking Northwestern to make a run. But that could be a very close game.
Yep.
I said, hey, I think Northwestern's better than Hannah. But I know the game last week was 31-16 between Hannah and Hillcrest. If Hillcrest could figure it out a little bit quicker on offense.
It didn't feel like that much of a difference in those two teams to me. It really didn't.
It wasn't. So, that could be a very good game, too. But, yeah, I feel good about Ridgeview.
Yeah, I think so, too. So, to kind of wrap up here, 4A, I like AC Flora playing North Myrtle Beach for state. 5A, I like Gaffney playing Sumter. Who do you like, John?
So 4A, I'm going to go South Point playing North Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
And then 5A, I'm going Gaffney over Dutch Fort. Gaffney winning a close game against Northwestern.
Close to the experts think. But it should be some good football for sure, you guys. We may be doing a show tomorrow night. We're not really sure yet. John and I talked about it. We'll see what happens if we get out of the game or what we're going to do with that. But we're going to maybe do some interviews for you guys next week. I know we got hit up earlier by a guy who hosts a sports show. We'll talk about some 5A stuff with us next week, so we may do that for sure. But definitely, if you guys go to a game tomorrow night, let us know on Facebook and Twitter about the game. Send us some pictures. Keep us updated about it because obviously we can't go if we make it to one, that's all we can go to. We can't go to every game around the state for sure. So keep us updated on that. Patrick says Gaffney wants Dutch Fork. Hey, you say that, but we'll see. We'll see.
I don't know. I don't know the Dutch Fork wants Gaffney.
That's true. That's very true. That's very true. But appreciate you guys for tuning in. Another great show, John. Lots of great viewer feedback and comments on it. I love you guys for doing that. Like I said, like us on Facebook, comment, subscribe, hit the little heart button, share it, tell your friends. I know we get shared in these groups every week, John, these high school football groups, and we get viewers off of that. But I appreciate you guys watching. But also, if you like the page, that would be really nice too. That way, you don't have to get shared into it every time. You just kind of see it. That would be good. But follow us there. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well. And check us out on YouTube and the podcast apps. Anything else, John, before we get out of here?
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be, and I don't know, we picked some upsets, but we say, well, this is going to be a close game. Every Friday, up till now, there's been a surprise. There's been, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was going to happen.
Yep.
And I think it's going to happen again tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy.
Yep.
Who does that happen to? What game is the, oh wow, look at that.
Yep. Because you got to remember, we keep saying it, and people, I think, are just not really understanding it. We're skipping 2 rounds of the playoffs, basically. So this is, what we usually see round 2 or 3 in round 1 this year. So a lot of really good football. Probably not as many blowouts. So maybe see some big time upsets we'll really see. But should be a great night of football in the upper and lower state tomorrow in South Carolina.
It should be good weather. At least I know the low country and PD's dealing with some rain still. But hopefully tomorrow night, the entire state. I know the Midlands and upper state will be high 60s probably.
Yeah. Should be good weather for sure.
So great weather too.
Should be good weather for sure. Jay also Sumter actually has 3 monsters on the D line, so I feel better I picked now at Sumter. I'm loving it. I feel better about it. I feel better about it for sure. So I like Sumter to make a little run in the playoffs for sure. And thank you guys for the comments, Patrick and Jay, and I see Corn's in here now checking us out. So if you guys just started viewing, obviously you started over at the beginning, so certainly do that. But for John Epps, I'm Kevin Thomas. This has been our 4 and 5A preview on Moving the Chains, and we will certainly talk to you guys again soon.